there everyone, and welcome to the stream. I am Pseudo. We're going to be doing some light live reacting to the stream today. It's going to be good. If you're just joining, welcome, welcome. I am Pseudo. I do lots of build videos. Going to be doing some stuff. Hello chat, what's up? Good to see us working, Maddie. Thank you. Going to be doing minimal commentary because I know what y'all are here for, and that's the stream from Cal. If you'd rather watch along organically with the class, feel free to just hit up the link in the description. Their official Twitch stream will be linked there. But until then, enjoy this video of me roaming. I'm going to finish off this protein shake. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. And I'll get my non-alcoholic bottle of rum that I've labeled Warrior Tears. So I take a shot from the ideas, I take a shot from that every time they do something stupid and unnecessary to Warrior. So it's going to be good. I'm excited. So what are we expecting today, right? What are we probably going to see? We're probably going to see some relic previews. I know they said they're going to be previewing 6 of the relics. I think there is only 6, but hopefully 6 out of 6. And then we may get a preview of the new weapons. We may not. I know we just get to see them on November 7th. I'm actually kind of hoping that we just don't get a preview of the relics. Or a preview of the weapons, rather. I'm rather hoping they just follow or focus on balance changes today. So like, you know, skills, traits, etc. But I guess we'll see. Yeah, that sounds like what I should be doing. Why? So makes sense. Yep, it's most of my video is using my terrible upload speed to upload videos while I edit and procrastinate life. But I did get a response from Restream. I want to shoot Muckluck a message or an email, because I'm definitely not above correcting myself. I'm wrong all the time. So Restream actually doesn't use your upload. They push it to their servers and then they push the stream elsewhere. So that's pretty exciting. I might be able to stream in more places now. Might cost me money, but I don't know. Yep, I will be back in a few minutes. I'm gonna finish this up, turn my lights on, and get ready for nonsense. I love being technically in a Teams meeting. That's my favorite kind of meeting. My second favorite thing in stupid corporate stuff, especially with the advent of COVID, Maddie, is that I'm frequently in more than one meeting software at once because I'm usually on a call with a client and being told why I shouldn't be on a call with that client. It's great. That was wonderful music by Cell Dweller, but let's jump over to this Twitch stream and see what's going on. Pretty excited. Tell me if the volume's okay. Try to normalize it for you guys a little bit. And I swear I will do my part to not talk over this too much. But there may be pausing just so I can get a word in edgewise. We'll see. But like I said, links in the description if you'd like the organic stream.
Right. Hello and welcome back to our Guild Wars 2 official balance patch stream. I am Roy Marks. Today we're here to talk about the November 28th balance patch. And as always, I am joined by none other than our skills and balance lead, Calcium Sea Cone.
That is as high as it goes.
Doing pretty good. You know, it's been a while since we've done one of these, so hopefully we can still remember how to do it. Some people may have already noticed that we have a special guest with us.
We do.
Taylor Trigbrook.
Hello.
Some of you may recognize him from the Pro League. Taylor, can you remind us how your team did in Pro League?
I think
we did fantastic. We qualified, and that's all you need to know about it.
Excellent.
Yes, but
yes,
welcome.
Obviously,
welcome
Taylor is a new-ish designer on the Skills and Balance team, and he does love Ranger pets. So great job on the overlay, Roy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, all right. As always, we will be posting the notes, the full notes for the balance preview to the forums at the end of the stream. So make sure you go to the forums, check them out, as well as always, give us your feedback. We will be, of course, reading it.
They'll be reading it, but they won't be doing anything with it. It comes out in like
I really have
a week and a half
to do except to read the feedback. So please make sure you do that. And I think we can probably just get started. We'll get into it and start going over the patch, unless there's anything else. We could slow roll.
So we do have the balance patch to talk about, and at the end we'll also show off the new relics that are being introduced for
relics.
quarterly release 1.
Not weapons, probably.
So you guys can look forward to that.
Okay, good. This isn't going to be too overwhelming then, otherwise it would be like 6 hours long, right?
Indeed. Let's get into it. So we're just going to be starting off with Elementalist today. As you can see, you've got
Catalyst, quality of life.
Some
my god.
survivability changes for Weaver, as well as some quality of life for Catalyst. And starting us off will be our resident Elementalist main, Cal, if you'd like to take it away.
Oh, not Taylor. Okay, but anyway, so Ellie, obviously with the introduction of Weapon Master training, we've seen a lot of Sword Warhorn on pretty much every power build, and we've kind of balanced Sword Warhorn to be where we want it to be-ish. You know, we see maybe a little bit of follow-up adjustments needed, but we do see that hammer and like dagger offhand and some of the other Ellie weapons aren't used as much anymore with the introduction of Weapon Master training, so we do want to kind of bring them back up. We see some more PvE focused changes here to increase some of the damage. On the next slide, we'll see that the Sword 3 skills in particular are getting some buffs in competitive modes to make it a more compelling weapon for non-weavers. Obviously, you don't have the dual attacks, so if you want to play Kata with sword or play Tempest with sword,
that's good. Hammer
having
kind of
the
needs
3-slot skills be a little bit better maybe makes the weapon a little bit more appealing.
And
you reduce some Warhorn cooldowns.
Why? I don't cross those fingers. I personally expect literally nothing from these. Like every time I expect something, I go in coming out disappointed.
We also have some buffs to some underutilized utility skills. This is like a common theme that we'll see across every profession, that we pretty much see every patch, that some of these skills that don't get used as much. Sometimes it just needs a cooldown reduction. So obviously Elemental Power and Arcane Shield. A couple of stun breaks that aren't quite as used as the more potent stun breaks, so just reducing the cooldown.
On Fear Me cooldown reduction.
Maybe a bit more.
You guys can do it.
Likely to see play on certain builds. And most importantly, we made a change to Whirlpool underwater changes. Very exciting. But mostly because we are also updating Tornado to have a much lower cooldown in PvE. This is pretty in line with a lot of changes we've been making recently to make some of the longer
that one guy with the bingo board with Whirlpool changes is just like,
and Tornado really shows up as like, you know, maybe if you really want some more power, you can slot.
And for those of you who didn't know, Whirlpool is what Tornado does underwater.
Maybe it's just something you consider a bit more frequently.
All right. Now we'll go to the next slide for real. Please continue.
Yep. And Taylor, you should probably say some stuff. That's the reason you're here, so that I don't have to talk for an hour.
I was planning on waiting till the end.
That's why they hired him.
Talk, but we can start now.
Yep. For the elite specs for Ellie, going with the theme of taking underutilized things and buffing it up. For Weaver, we took a look at some things that can help it get some more sustain in its kit. So aquatic stance, buffing that up, as well as adding new functionality to grant some endurance when you use it, and then Woven Stride, adding functionality to give some Condi cleanse to Weaver builds that want to take that trait. And then for Catalyst, it's a big thing here is some QOL for Empowered Empowerment, where it's always going to give 50% more effectiveness on your empowerment, even if you don't have 10 stacks. So you can't hit that 10 stacks really consistently. The trait's still going to do something.
I just had a trivia question on this. They're just going to have like
to kind of bridge the gap a little bit.
8K stats on Selly Gear in World vs. World all the time.
I think that'll actually wrap it up.
You officially can't 1v1 Catalyst in World vs. World now.
No, it's fine. We have some bigger sections later.
Oh
we
my god!
We can talk a little bit slower.
I honestly thought that the first slide with like the overview of the patch was all that they were doing. I didn't see that was just Elementalist. I was just like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
So that's a good note.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, engineer. We got some stuff.
Indeed, we do. Once again, going to be looking at a couple of weapons, rifle and pistol specifically for engineer. We've got some support improvements on a couple of different specializations, as well as looking at the alchemy trait line in this patch. Once again, Cal, you can start us off, and then we'll switch to Taylor.
Wow, we're not going to switch it up and have Taylor go first?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. So,
I feel like I need a low bass beat in the background of this.
Rifle and pistol improvements. Big surprise. The big thing with rifle that we wanted to do is add a little bit more.
Yeah, but
defense.
now they might be
able
able
to.
to.
More aggressive, like power DPS weapon. You obviously have some CC with net shot, overcharge shot, and some big damage, but it's just a little bit too glassy.
That's true. There will be
so
suspect to CCs.
Or rather, we're adding a evade to jump shot to kind of put it into that same vein as like burning speed on Ellie, for example, to be like that iconic, pretty powerful skill that also does a little bit of evade, so you can use it a little bit more flexibly. And then for pistol, I guess the other thing on rifle is that with the goal of kind of making it a more usable weapon, we did want to make net shot a bit more reactable, because it is currently a bit too fast. It's really easy or rather really difficult as playing against the rifle.
You can hear Cal playing League of Legends in the background.
So we slowed it down, made it a bit more reactable, but also made it apply vuln and bumped up the damage in PvE to compensate. So ideally, we're going to see more rifle being played, but also a bit more counterplay to some of rifle stuff. And beyond that, we have some pistol improvements. Static shot getting a cast time reduction to try to make it a bit more usable as that blind. Use it reactively against a powerful incoming skill, get that blind off, and reduce the cooldown a little bit in competitive modes. And then offhand pistol, we're trying to shift a bit more of its focus to a hybrid damage roll as opposed to just a Condi damage roll, because we see, again, with Weapon Master training introduced, we want people to be able to play sword with some
mention nothing about warrior getting boned with Weapons Master.
So giving a little bit more power damage here on both Blowtorch and Blue Shot going to have a strike on it makes it a bit more.
I'm willing to eat those words. I'd like to eat those words. I hope they're delicious.
Rather, if you want to play with sword main hand.
All right.
Like any warrior just exists, and that's all.
Taylor, would you like to tell us about engineer changes on this page?
Yeah, so we're looking at buffing up the support capabilities of engineer, especially in competitive modes, Warpy World and PvP, and we took a look at Bandage Blast. Bandage Blast was a skill that when your allies were right in front of you, it was really powerful, but if you wanted to use for a guy at range,
it always is,
pretty
right?
Bad. So we've made it more consistent now, where it kind of works like a Firebrand mantra, where it will look in front of you and shoot out some medkits to allies there. And if they're full health,
but you get the bonus thing you get for playing warrior bonk.
But basically,
you
we're trying
about
to turn
it all the time.
medkit 2 into more of your bread and butter skill that will give consistent healing instead of all or nothing.
Absolutely, just showing that off in game a little bit.
I like it.
Some different functionality on that, but yes, indeed.
The issue that Roy is seeing here is that all of his NPCs are at full health, so it's not actually using the new tracking functionality. It is going to use that basically when the targeted ally is.
I think they literally stole that from
hone in on that target and make sure that you.
What's it called? Artillery slash, right? But just for allies instead of enemies.
Obviously, they are not going to get the value from
like where it shoots out a projectile. That was okay. So there's Bladesworn's one remaining skill that it had that was unique on. Good.
And additionally, with Bandage Blast, we're looking at some elixirs. We'll go with the alchemy changes that we have to show later. Tosby is losing the chance to give swiftness, which is a buff, because turns out all the other boons it gives are better than swiftness, so I have more of a chance to get those boons.
All right. A couple more core changes here, if you want to keep talking about those, Taylor.
This goes along with the support. We have some buffs to inventions and alchemy. Inventions getting a bit better healing in competitive, and then alchemy had a lot of triggers for traits that were on passives. So now we're making them more active, which means we can do things like reduce their cooldown and give them better effectiveness, as well as slightly adjusting HDH to be more sustained damage than bursty.
I like it.
All right. Moving on to Scrapper. Cal?
Yeah, so this is, again, some more support-oriented changes outside of rapid regeneration at the bottom. That is more of a personal sustain buff, but we are trying to kind of buff up Scrapper support. Obviously, the other changes were all available to
Yeah,
all
but
engineers,
then,
but
Bonk,
Scrapper
you just
will
know not
also
to pay attention to
likely
those
use
people
them.
if they think Willbender's bad.
But we are seeing a few different
is
improvements
on
to the app traits here. So we
crack.
see like System Shocker getting AoE barrier. Mass Momentum is a really interesting one here because it's now going to give more stability and actually affect 5 targets. So it's now a reliable source of group stability.
System Shocker's
And then
nuts.
Expert
That's an
Examination
insane,
kind of getting the full
insane
rework
change.
here, as it's a trait that wasn't really used all that much, so we wanted to utilize it for the support role and give it a bit more protection. Obviously, this can be used as just a personal
I wonder if
protection source
Zergs are just like scrappers
but
now.
it is going to grant AoE prot on function gyro and also the healing skill tool belt. So a couple of extra prot sources on support scrapper builds.
Again, Dusty, you can't help. They're just gonna rip it away from you.
Yep. The first one applied force is taking aim at just
Don't do it, bro.
tower-based scrapper builds and PvE.
It's a trap.
They weren't really
aim your energy
dealing
somewhere
damage
else.
like other pure DPS builds, so we're just increasing the power it gives. So hopefully it's going to give a lot more power, and they'll be able to do a lot more damage.
That is
then
a
you'll see
significant number increase.
Yes, 20 more, and you can get 20 sacks of might, so that's 500 extra power. So a lot.
That's a big number.
Interesting math.
Yeah, it's pretty good math, right? So we see Blast Gyro also getting buffed. Before Blast Gyro was pretty much must take for the quickness builds because it's what gave you quickness, but now that it's not, people have been opting to not take it, so we're decreasing the cooldowns to make it a bit more appealing. Then we can see for Hollowsmith, Spectrum Shield is getting a slightly rework of what it does. Still gives that damage reduction, but it no longer has the reduced recharge.
I don't know about 1 second of stab, but we'll see.
With the amount of stability and duration of stability scaling with heat, as well as a big cooldown reduction on flash.
Exactly, Dusty. You nailed it. Being a warrior isn't good.
Is a lot better than
it's like being a crackhead. It isn't good, but it's addicting. I mean, again, there are functional warrior builds. It's just so jank and most of its kit's outdated that
we got a couple of
great for complaining.
Here that are going to improve the quality of life for the mechanist. Cal, if you want to talk about those.
Yeah, these are all just relics that
Weird.
didn't really work with the mech, and as we've seen in the past, we do kind of treat the mech as an extension of the mechanist. So now all these relics are going to work kind of as you'd expect them. When the mech meets the trigger condition, that will reward you as the user of the relic.
All right. And here up first, Mechanical Genius, not something that we see too often on these in this stream. Taylor?
Yeah, Taylor, please.
Yeah. Current implementation was not very friendly to people, especially when your mech can run around all over the place. So we're adding a small grace period where you'll still have the buff and give you a chance to get yourself to line with your
That's
mech.
actually a really good change for PvE. That was kind of made Mechanist kind of super unplayable.
Nerfs for PvP. Mech was an overperforming build in certain MMR bands, so we are reducing its effectiveness. It was just too good.
Mech isn't that impressive.
Yep, this is pretty similar to... we'll see this with Scourge, spoiler, as well. Scourge will also be getting some reductions.
Well, Scourge is a little bit ridiculous.
Along with Mechanist, it is kind of one of the top 2 most dominant specs in certain rating brackets.
Very good. And that will wrap things up for the engineer class. So moving on to Guardian.
Watch there be nothing for warrior. Watch it just say like they won't even have a slide for warrior. I always thought it was going to say warrior and then just nothing, but they're just not going to have a slide. They're going to like do 8 classes and then just go on to the relics.
Firebrand in PvP for the first time.
Never happened before.
Never happened before. All right, so Cal, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
The funny thing is, Dusty, is it's usually not intentional too that when they make warrior brokenly good in PvP, it's usually by nerfing other things in the meta.
Well, but still feels maybe a little clunky to use, so we do want to...
no, warrior just nothing.
The casting
Why?
time
Just
attack,
nothing.
Hit, and also on Zealot's Embrace.
Can't complain about all stream. I'm
goes
sorry.
really fast now. It is maybe...
We'll get there when we get there.
To watch with quickness, so players can look forward to that.
Can't be too fast.
But beyond that, the cool change here is that Banish is now going to recharge Mighty Blow.
Wow.
This is like we've kind of seen similar reset mechanics on other weapons in the past, and they've always been generally really fun. So we saw this as a good opportunity.
Okay, so Hammer is just Guardian is officially just better warrior. I swear I said I just wouldn't do it, but
maybe with JI, and then
oh my god,
follow up with Banish, which will recharge Mighty Blow, and Mighty Blow now will teleport to that Banish target as of last patch. So potentially some fun bursty combos for Hammer again, and Banish can now hit 3 targets because
Lesser Litany of Wrath. What?
We
That's
also have
crazy.
a nice little buff to
That's like the
strengthen numbers,
Berserker
or rather
trait.
redemption now, reworking that into something a bit more potent.
And that's on
as
a core
defensive
line.
option, and this is going to now cast lesser Litany of Wrath when using Virtue Skill 3.
Litany of Wrath is
So
just the
upside
healing
here is that
one,
there's
but
another
for
meditation trigger for Monk's Focus. And
yeah, it's a
also
copy
gonna give
paste,
you a bit
except
more
Banish
sustain,
actually
because you are
does
gonna have
something
another potential
and doesn't have a
Litany of
year-long
Wrath
cast time, Maddie.
and convert all of
Like
your
the
outgoing
4-second
damage.
knockdown thing. Well, Captain Crapface actually did. He's another warrior
Moving
dude who
on,
just
starting
complains
up
about it
with
all the time, like I do.
Dragon
Just did a
What's going
really
on
good
with
deep
Dragon
dive into
Hunter?
both rifle and hammer and why they
Dragon
suck.
Hunter is getting some sustain buffs.
I'd go hit
to
that
help his
video up if
defense
you
with
want to
no
know.
Rune of the Trapper, not having that stealth we've seen in competitive. Dragon Hunter has pretty much fallen off, and so trying to help it out some more. We see with Defender's Dogma giving it basically a free 180 vitality, because Guardians don't have a lot of health, so helping that out. And then Purisight,
Literally
increasing
a
the
better
minimum
warrior.
damage from 5 to 10 to help maybe Dragon Hunter builds that want to be in melee more, get that damage out.
Yeah.
Hopefully something with Valor.
No, there's a bunch of
changes and all
bunch of
this will
PvE
help
changes, like
maybe make a more bruiser Dragon Hunter build come out.
a lot of
We also
LA
see
PvE
Piercing
changes,
Light
actually
is
really
being
good ones.
reworked, and now is going to give Aegis when you use
That's
a fast
not
skill,
sarcasm,
so
they're
a
actually
more
pretty good.
defensive option to help with those trapper builds, like I mentioned.
Yeah, his videos are pretty good.
And obviously, with the bottom
Needs a better
change being
name, but
PvP only,
pretty
but
good.
overall, are we kind of just focusing mostly on looking at Dragon Hunter in competitive modes, maybe PvP, with these changes a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. These were aimed mostly at PvP. We see Dragon Hunter in PvE and World v World in a pretty decent spot, and it needed the most help in PvP for right now.
Very good. Firebrand, as we mentioned earlier, we'll be getting some more adjustments in PvP as well. Cal, I think, loves talking about this, so Cal, if you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously we've kind of been buffing Firebrand over the last year at this point, and it feels like it's getting pretty close. And I'll probably take some flack from chat and forums for that, but we do feel like Firebrand is pretty solid. And for this patch, we wanted to focus on a few slightly smaller improvements that are still going to be impactful.
Yeah.
See if that
I can't stand that it's still a janky pile of garbage
over the top
as far as Warrior is concerned. Everything else is in a really good direction.
Maddie,
because Firebrand sucks.
To the amount of pages that you'll be getting playing with the
that was sarcasm
support trait,
but they're buffing Firebrand because it's in the
up some
game.
of the justice skills to make them more potent on the offensive side of things. So we see Searing Spell potentially apply a lot of vulnerability, and also Ashes of the Just giving might stacks to allies is potentially, opening up your allies to go really aggressive.
And I think when you open, the next slide's going to say when you open Tome 4, it just kills all your enemies
so now,
around you.
In competitive, we're going to see
it actually has a 20 target cap.
Possibilities for Firebrand, and also Daring Challenge.
Sorry, gotta stop being negative.
Previously, for the poll.
They should have just put the warrior one first, so I'm not disappointed.
Again, we've kind of been tweaking page costs and increasing page generation for Firebrand.
I'm doing it again, giving myself hope. Gotta stop that.
We'll really see what Firebrand can do, but hopefully. And
I mean, that's all it's good for, right? Like,
we got some allied
at this point, because they don't read them.
We'll see if Firebrand can finally.
They don't care.
Finally, make it happen. Or we'll be back next.
Now again, I will need those words if and when it becomes relevant in the future.
Again, PvP only changes for the most part.
I really think that this
vision we have
they're at least doing stuff. It's good.
We have some pretty strong builds for it in the other game modes. So
the funny part why is that
play style that you're trying to push.
Okay, I'm not talking over anything important. The funny thing is, all the other forums are like, hey, they maybe nerfed this thing too much. They buffed this thing too much. What about this change? And the Warrior forums are just like, if you go to them and just like, this class sucks.
Potentially, we could see like, I don't know, DPS Firebrand.
Maybe that's why they don't read them.
I don't think that's something that's really on our radar right now.
Yeah, try to be constructive with your criticism.
In the future, we could see some
if
more
you're gonna write it. I meme a lot, but yeah.
But for now, it's just the support build.
Thank you, Twitch notification.
All right, wrapping up the Guardian changes. We've got a couple of nods to Willbender here, Taylor, if you want to talk about those.
Oh, good. Buffing Willbender as well.
Like most other Guardian specs, we're giving a slight.
Oh my god, rolling light gives resistance.
Willbender, because we see
are they on drugs?
Get out of hand very quickly in competitive modes. So something we're doing is adding vitality instead of healing power.
Oh my
to give
god!
To trade off some powers for some extra vitality.
I'm gonna play Willbender.
Tanky, and roiling light is now gonna give resistance to the swiftness. It's already a pretty good stun break.
I need to look at
pushing
this.
That to give an even
okay,
better
thank God. I
for
thought that was the
break.
trait that whenever they move, they get resist or swiftness.
Some situations.
That's still insane.
All right, very good. All right, moving on to Mesmer. We've got some condition build improvements and some support build improvements. And don't let the lack of 3 bullet points in this slide fool you. We've got a lot of changes for Mesmer.
Mesmer might actually have the most changes.
It
well,
might
except for
have the most changes.
What's
some other
lacerating
profession that we'll
chop?
talk about later.
Yeah, which we haven't seen already, so that kind of narrows it down a little bit.
Yeah.
But all right, starting us off with some Mesmer changes. Taylor,
Lacerating chop.
Yep.
Is...
So the first part of conditioned Mesmer adjustments are we're looking at the weapons it can use. The biggest thing here is axe. So previously axe.
It's only the
clones,
first one? That's
a lot
weird.
of their damage was backloaded into the third part of the auto. But due to that and them being clones, it was really hard for players to get this damage off.
And torment,
and
okay.
So now we're making it so axe clones
No,
are
they
like
don't,
scepter
Dusty.
clones where they only do
It's
the first part of the auto
Hugh
over
left
and over
and
again.
the dude
So
who
you don't have
likes
to worry
Signet
about
Warrior
clone
left,
damage when we're
and
trying to do damage as
no one's
conditioned
played it
Mesmer.
since.
And
All the good
similarly,
warrior
we're
implementation was
pulling
done
in
back in
CDRs for the axe
2012.
skills. So,
And when Berserker
if you
came
wanna
out.
play axe when you're not a Mirage.
Don't worry, the the
we're
wiki
also
does a really
rolling
good
in
breakdown
for
of that. You can
CDRs
actually go
as
there
well.
in about like 2-3 days and get all the
Really
icons.
quickly, is
Lacerating
something
chop
that
is
we're
the first
seeing
in the
from
auto.
Mirage still, or is it concern there, or is it really just like off Mirage builds that we're trying to pump up axe a little bit after the weapon master proficiency?
Axe was still good on Mirage, but we saw a lot of the power in Axe lived
It's
in
really
the Axe
not.
trait, and so trying to pull some of the power out of the trait and back onto the baseline to make it more appealing for things like Chronomancers, definitely the goal of this change here.
Gotcha. Great. All right, moving on. We've got some more.
Hey, at least we get
skills to look
slides, JD.
Yep.
At least we get
First we
preview
see
streams
Phantasmal
now.
Warlock
I'm
is
very
now gonna
thankful
do
for
torment
that.
instead of vulnerability.
Like
Staff
unironically.
is basically a conditioned weapon, and making your Phantasm do vulnerability instead of more damage felt kind of bad in all game modes. So we're
You
seeing
think they
now
read
it is
Twitch
a
chat? They
DPS
don't.
Phantasm. So hopefully pressing that button should feel good. And then we see that Scepter getting some touches, the auto attack getting buffed. Counter spell is now going to do confusion. So if you can't get that counter out, you can just reactivate it to do some damage. And we see Scepter CDRs are also being rolled in.
All right. Very good. Moving on to some traits. Cal?
Yeah, I'm trying not to.
I think Taylor should keep going.
Okay.
Some of the stuff they're
Never
saying
mind.
isn't.
The Mesmer master.
We're
Super
gonna
important.
ignore me for the rest of the stream. I'm gonna say nothing, and Taylor will talk. Please continue.
So
Sounds good to me. Let's go.
here we're looking at the Chaos trait line. This is going into the support Mesmer bullet point. We've seen Chaos is good at giving boons to yourself, but not to other allies, which kind of held support back. So we're kind of reworking some traits to be more efficient at giving boons to allies, and things like aura sharing Chaos aura on illusionary transference. We see illusionary defense is now going to be a source of protection for allies, and the big one here is bountiful disillusionment is now going to give the additional boon to allies around you. It always gives you stab and then a boon based on the shatter, so it's not going to give the stab to allies, but it's going to give that additional boon. And
I like
distortion
this.
is now stability, so to give stability to allies, you can use distortion. So as a whole, Chaos is going to get a buff to its group sustain or group.
They are
support.
insane for AoE play.
Very good.
I don't know how good it'll be
And,
for World vs. World,
Cal, I
Natty.
think Taylor should read the slide.
Because this doesn't really do much for
I agree.
PvE, right?
Keep
Great.
going. We got inspiration. We're still on the support Mesmer bullet point. So
Yep.
More
so
Mesmer
this is
slides.
the other
This is
half
crazy.
of support Mesmer.
This
is
one
more
I'd
of the
say is
healing part,
insane.
where we're trying to get them to pump out more healing. Big change here is that Restorative Illusions is going to the Grandmaster tier. There's a bit of some trait swaps going on. And similar to the Bountiful Disillusionment, it's now becoming AoE. This will hopefully increase the throughput of healing Mesmers have, and as a side effect, you now have to choose between Restorative Illusions and the Signet Grandmaster trait for competitive, where we've seen that maybe Inspiration Mesmer has just too much sustain by itself. And then we also see a rework to Mental Defense, where it will cause Distortion to grant resistance and stun break nearby allies. So in combination of Mental Defense and Bountiful Disillusionment, pretty strong skill.
JD's got a good point. They're probably doing prep for the weapons as well.
How you doing,
But I really like this.
Do you need a break?
I'm doing great.
We'll get to see it in the
That's what we love
context,
to
which is
hear.
cool.
Okay. You
On
can read this
November
slide as
7th
well.
when this drops, we'll get to see all these
This is
changes
back
in the
going
context of all the
back
weapon
to,
skills.
Conditioned Mesmer is kind of hinted where all those CDRs got rolled in. Now those traits that they came from getting a bit more powerful. Buffing the pledge, the burning it does, compounding power.
That is not
there's
a
an
buff.
illusion trait that gave flat condition damage. It's now going to give percentage, which should be a slight buff for PvE. And Malicious Sorcery was a trait that was really bad because the attack speed increased to nothing when you had quickness, and in PvE everyone had quickness. So now we're making a trait that does anything when you take it. So it's going to give you confusion, has increased duration, and when you evade an attack, it's going to put confusion on the attacker. And then the last two bullet points here, you'll see
does that have a cooldown
for Mesmer and
that better have a cooldown?
Support buffs. We didn't want it to get too out of hand, where it's like really good support and really good boon rip. So we're trying to lower it down before that even happens.
Malicious sorcery better have a fucking cooldown.
Support archetypes on this.
I'm sorry.
Is there a specific sort of version of support Mesmer that we're really trying to sort of envision with a lot of these changes?
What?
Yeah, I think for PvE, we're just hoping it can slot into like the traditional support role and be that to like fully support an entire subgroup. And then in World v World, we're hoping that Mesmer can kind of step into the role and be competitive with Firebrand. We've seen that a lot of groups in World v World, Firebrand is basically a must-have. And Mesmer is pretty close. You can almost replace it. So we're hoping that by buffing Mesmer, it'll give it some really good competition for the Firebrand slot. And now, you know, there'll be real decision points in team comps.
Very cool. All right, Mirage. I was going to have...
slide. I think Taylor should do it.
Cal, yeah, I was going to have Cal read this, but I think it would be better if Taylor did. Especially because I don't think he's going to read any more slides for the rest of the stream. There's no other class that he would talk about. So, Taylor, why don't you wrap up Mirage for us?
Yeah, pretty short here. Mirrored Axes is just going with the Axe clone change we did, where they can no longer use the third part of the auto, which means they can't proc this trait. Oh no. Which means that the third part of the auto is just no longer going to be part of this trait, and we're buffing up the axes that the 2 and the 3 and ambush can produce. So hopefully this trait stays net even with the damage trade-off. And then we see Stand Through Glass is a defensive skill. This is more for competitive. And now moves immobilize. You know, Mirages can no longer dodge while they're immobed. It's terrible. What are they going to do? Now they can use this skill to get out of the immobilize.
Wow. That's great.
Great.
Thank you so much.
That was my first thought as well, but probably not.
The Mesmer stuff. Should probably drink some water. Some hydration.
We'll slow it down.
No, these are good changes for Mesmer. I really like a lot of this. I also play Mesmer, so I'm completely non-biased. But, you know.
We have to hit on this stream.
I've been hydrated.
Is what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm great, but I also haven't really been talking very much. There we go. Good job, Taylor. We love to see it. We love to see it. All right, Necromancer. Now we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite green class. So for Necromancer, we've got a Curses update. We're going to be looking at some survivability improvements for Reaper, and similar to some other classes that we've looked at already, we've got some...
I like a lot of these changes, though. Like, looking at them in a vacuum, these are very good, and I really like the new guy, honestly. He seems to have a good command of the game.
Yep, will do. So the big thing here is we're doing kind of a trade shuffle for curses. I think the master tier in curses in competitive might be the most competitive tier in the game. So we're moving terror to the Grandmaster as a way to buff it. You know, it's getting some slight values, but now it won't have to compete with Path of Corruption and Master of Corruption. And so builds, especially builds like Core Necro, which we've seen be very good in PvP, will feel better about having this, as well as ways to get better corruption. And Parasitic Contagion is going down to the Master tier to take its place. And then we have a slight tweak to
my god, Soul Comprehension is a huge quality of life change.
To blindness. Blindness was just very inconvenient and lowered how much people like this trait, so hopefully Master of Corruption, a bit more competitive. And we also see some slight tweaks to Death Magic. One of the minor tiers is now going to give you some more Life Force based on your Death Carapace stacks. So you have an avenue to get Life Force outside of the Soul Reaping trait line. And Deathly Strength is now going to give you a bit of condition damage as well as power to make it more appealing for condition damage builds.
Sorry, trying not to talk over them too much. You know what's crazy about this? Almost all of these are buffs to stuff, right? And the game's already kind of crazy.
I'm actually going to say, well, I was scrolling ahead in the PowerPoint, and, you know, Ranger comes next, so we should probably give Taylor a little bit of a break.
Listen, I have a plan. Don't have my plan. Taylor, please read this slide.
Okay, yeah,
I have a plan. I love it.
So we see with Well of Blood and Signet of Vampirism, they're just underused heals that we can buff up and make them better used. So we're doing that. In Life Transfer, it's the 4 skill on Core Necro Shroud. Currently, it's basically just power damage, but now we're adding some bleeding on hit. So if you're condition damage build, you don't feel bad about pressing that button. And then we see Plague Signet getting a big cooldown reduction, slightly reducing the number of condition transfers, so it can be a better stun break. And similarly, Well of Power going down, so give better stun break options for Necro.
All right.
I don't understand the Plague Signet change, but
we did not rehearse nearly enough. But before we run this bit into the ground, Cal, why don't you wrap up Necro with the elite specializations?
I mean, we always rehearse, but the thing is that our actual final live stream is never the same as rehearsals. Like, there's no actual formula for I read this slide, Taylor reads that slide. just wing it every time. So as you can see, that goes really well.
I will point out it was going fine until you stopped listening to me. But yes.
Yes.
That is the issue, really.
Okay.
I should have total control.
Roy versus Cal in the
you are
octagon
basically
after
running the
this.
stream, so that's pretty reasonable.
Dana White can host it.
But yeah, so what do we have on this slide? Skip ahead a little bit. There are some Scourge nerfs. We talked about that earlier, just reducing its effectiveness in PvP a little bit. The big change for Reaper here is going to be a change to Blighter's Boon. We've kind of retooled it so that instead of having like the half and half functionality where if you're not in Shroud, you get one half. If you are in Shroud, you get the other half. Now it's just going to give you both healing and life force every time you trigger it, which is potentially very powerful to the point that we've kind of preemptively reduced healing value a little bit so that it doesn't blow up too hard.
But not the life force value.
We'll be keeping a close eye on it, and we could potentially buff it back up if it is underperforming at the new value. But we think that just having the functionality of always getting both is potentially really good because you can get, potentially a lot more healing and life force and all the things you want. Maybe you'll play more skills like Blood is Power maybe in PvP. Maybe not, but it's always an option because it does give you a bunch of might stacks, which is now going to give you a bunch of life force and also a bunch of healing. Augury of Death also getting a bump of like this trait isn't quite super.
Look at the new guy. He's just like so happy he gets to talk about Ranger on a stream.
Functionality isn't terrible.
That'd be me if I was like Warrior, right?
Here that we will get to eventually that will make this trait a compelling.
Getting to work on it. He's so happy. Good for him, man.
At the bottom we see Elixir of Bliss.
It's great to see people who play this game getting into balance rolls.
Much, so getting a cooldown reduction to make it more appealing.
All right, very good. Nicely done, Cal. Moving on to Taylor's favorite demon class.
I love
We're going to be talking about Ranger. And as you can see, we've got a lot of pet improvements coming at you guys. And in fact, not only do we have a lot of pet improvements to show here on the stream, but we didn't, in fact, actually put every single change onto the PowerPoints because we probably would have ran out of slides. So there are going to be a lot of changes on the stream. Those will be posted to the forums at the end of the stream, as I mentioned earlier. So if you would like to read every single pet change, make sure you go to the forums and you read that post. We're going to be talking about kind of some of the highlights of these pet changes, as again, there were a lot. So
yeah, I think basically touched like almost every pet. I think long overdue, but now that we have a Ranger
no, Maddie, this one I think is coming out on November 7th.
Pet specialist.
And then they're doing. Okay, so that was my question. Like, when is the actual balance patch? Is it the 7th, or is the 7th the preview for the weapons, and then the balance patch is the 28th?
To make taking the not meta.
Because the second one would make more sense.
So the biggest thing we did was look at a lot of the power coefficients of the basic attacks on the families and made them a lot closer to what the feline family is. So if you want to flex a pet for utility, it won't do like half the damage of a lynx, so you won't feel as bad. And so most of the changes that aren't listed here are going to be like cooldown
now removes
reductions
movement
and
impairing conditions.
So they're not really exciting. We put most of the exciting ones on here. So we'll see things like Icy Roar, the Polar Bear F2 will now stun. The Quickening Screech on birds will now remove movement impairing conditions, like we see Windborne Speed on Ellie do. Eagle has its own F2 now and no longer shares it with Hawk.
What's the name of that skill?
It's Brash Slash.
Ooh,
something
nice.
fitting for an eagle.
I like that. It's a good word.
Yep. And on the next slide, we'll see continuation. Hyena is getting a bit of a change.
Nuts.
It's getting a reclassification. It no longer has
stats,
but
it's nuts.
And Howl of the Pack is getting super buff.
That makes more sense, Maddie.
Getting
if the balance patch is on the 28th.
It's going to summon 2 allies. The allies will now follow the player properly like minions. We did make sure that the allies cannot use the knockdown, because having them all use knockdown might be a bit too good, but we'll see Roy here show off the hyena. Wow, that's 3 hyenas.
Oh my god, target cap in World versus World.
Skill, but, maybe next time.
So if you want to have a lot of little guys follow you around, hyena is the pet to do it.
Indeed.
Ranger a better minion mancer than minion mancer.
Not getting farmed by the Guardian NPC this time.
Yeah, they're too busy hitting the hyenas. Who needs bear bow when you have hyena bow?
That was mostly me. I'm just gonna point that out. I mostly killed it. That was all me, really. I've been training since that happened. Actually, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never died to the NPC. Taylor, keep reading, please.
That's crazy town.
And we have some more reclassifications. Stray Count is now going to be versatile to get that pull to go along with its immobilize. White Moa is now a supportive pet. Moas have a lot of support on them, but not having a supportive pet feels a bit weird. So now White Moa is going to fill in that role, as well as Icy Screech is now going to grant Frost Aura to allies, a bit more supportive way of getting that chill out. And then the next page.
Oh, most importantly, we have widened the Drake's Breath attacks.
Yes, Drake's Breath hitboxes now match.
We buffed the Drake's Breath skill on Elementalist, but then it was out of sync with Drake's Breath.
Oh well,
so
thank God.
Didn't make any sense.
That was the one change I was hoping for. I can die happy now.
Well, it at least has to be as wide, right?
Yeah.
The hitbox should probably be the same.
We do, yes.
So now it is.
Wide is important. And
That
so,
hyena change is crazy. I wonder if they're thinking about World versus World for the target cap thing.
Bigger change for the porcine pets is that Forage was a random skill where you rolled the lotto to see what you would get. It is not going to do that anymore. It is now going to be consistent what you get every time.
What?
Unfortunately for Steamoth, that is not going to be an ectoplasm.
Okay, thank
Pig
you, God.
got a reclassification. It was kind of trying to be the supportive pet, but you don't really want a pig for that. So it's not going to be the ferocious pet, and it is now going to forage a greatsword, which you can then throw. If you were an old ranger player, you might remember this as the you might remember this as a reactivation of the greatsword block. So we'll have that skill again.
And we do know that pigs are ferocious pets. Because
I like that they
Taylor
changed Charge on
is
Gazelle, but probably
a
won't change it on
veterinary
Warrior, but that
science
would be
major,
lovely.
Or he was when he was studying in college.
That's
So
crazy.
A lot of
good
time with
news,
pigs.
we are flavor winning with this change. You can ask Taylor about
A bit of snark in the
ferocious
fifth
pigs
bullet
sometime.
point. I like
Can you in
it.
fact confirm for us that pigs are ferocious, Taylor?
I can. It's actually kind of scary sometimes.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yep.
Great joke, Cal. I'm sure you just came up with that now.
Yep,
I saw
we didn't
you-
do that in rehearsal.
I
These
saw
are
you
great changes for
giggling as soon
Ranger.
as we went
I
to
like
the
all
slide,
of them.
but that's okay.
Like, I'm not
Anyways,
dogging on other
is that
like other
everything?
class
I think I started
changes. I
talking
just
too early,
think,
'cause I got the
you
bug
know,
right
we'll see
there,
what Warrior
Taylor, so I
gets.
started talking over him. Unlucky.
And I do play other
There's
classes,
no
to be
bugs in the
fair.
stream.
It's just,
Chandler, is this the end of this slide?
memeing on Warrior's
After
fun
Cal has
because
rudely interrupted
A
you?
bit
been
more,
10
bit more
years.
changes.
Okay.
We see Smoke Scale has been a dominant pet in PvP since forever. And so we are taking out the knockdown to make the
Wow.
pet a bit more fair compared to other pets, taking some power out of
Smoke
it.
Scale kind of blows now.
And then we see that the End of Dragons pet were special in that when you merge with them in Soul Beast, you got their auto attack instead of the skill you expected them to have. So that is being changed, and now all of the pets from End of Dragons will have the proper skill when merged with Soul Beast. And additionally, Siege Turtle will no longer have the skill Snap as a Soul Beast or when it exists, because the range pet having a melee skill didn't quite make a
No,
lot
not
of
yet,
sense.
Kashima.
So it's now going to get heavy shots.
Change
which
Warrior to
will
be a Ranger pet?
shooting a target shot
True!
to daze enemies.
It's going to be the last bullet point.
Is that the last pet slide? I
That's-
think it is.
That's the last of the highlights.
Rev Warrior
So-
and Thief.
But don't
People
worry,
forget
there's
Thief,
way
Maddie.
more changes.
There's a
on the
lot.
forum.
Yeah, there really are a lot more. I looked at all of them and I was like, "There's no way I'm putting this on a slide." So
When I
really,
was writing the forum post and I copy pasted all the ranger notes onto it, I think it increased the size of the post by like a significant amount.
Like 2x.
that's
It's
crazy.
not quite 2x, but
No, the rebalance is really
it
good.
was very
Like,
many
you can
changes.
clearly tell the new guy plays Ranger.
With all
I was
these pet
completely
changes,
spot on about that, just
Taylor,
saying.
were
But,
there
like,
any sort of specific
good.
things
I
you were
want more
looking
people who
for
care
in
about the
terms of,
roles that they
it's
put
going to
in
really help this
on the
build,
balance
it's going
team.
to
That's
help
amazing.
Ranger become a better support or a better DPS in some game mode, or is it really more just trying to get more of the pets in line with each other? Where kind of, as you mentioned at the beginning, there were some meta pets and some very non-meta pets.
Yeah, I was trying to help get all the pets a lot closer to each other. I'm not expecting, all the pets to be a perfect, trade-off now, but I'm hoping that, if maybe a pet has a skill that's like pretty good in a fight, you now feel better about taking it. They are not losing out on like Link's damage, for example, or now maybe a skill with a lower cooldown. It wasn't like good enough as an impact, but now, now that the spider,
Yeah, I'd be okay with that,
cooldowns are
Kashima.
lower, now you feel good about taking
I'm
it.
thinking about
So,
reaching out to him, see if he wants to do a collab
It's
on
a work in
something.
progress for Ranger pets, but hopefully it feels a lot better now.
I wanted to see what we'd get with this, and I guess they're not
Alright,
previewing the new
Revenant. So
weapons.
Revenant's
So,
getting some weapon improvements. We're going to be looking at
oh, thank
Retribution,
God,
which is a great line
Revenant's
a
getting
little bit.
weapon
And we got a
improvements.
very exciting energy meld change for the Vindicator profession. So, Cal, if you want to talk about Hammer, your favorite weapon to talk about.
All right,
Hey,
I'll talk about
yo,
Hammer.
Maddie, hammer buffs.
That's what I just said.
It's happening.
Yeah, I was just confirming your suspicion.
What's my
So we
suspicion?
have the Revenant Hammer. The couple changes here. So one of the primary identities for the hammer is that it's a little bit more defensive, more of that like bruiser roll. Because we have the evade on skill 3, we have the projectile destruction wall on skill 4, and we have some CC on skill 5 as well. So we did do some general damage improvements for PvE to try to bring it a bit more.
A lifesteal hammer
not
revenant,
quite in line with something like sword or greatsword, but it should be a more competitive option if you want like that range damage dealing weapon. It will be hopefully a bit more valuable, if not quite at the level you want if you are trying to super maximize DPS. But we are also updating Field of the Mists to make it a bit more responsive and just a bit more powerful, because this is pretty easily the weakest skill on the bar. The first thing we did is we moved the projectile destruction wall to come out immediately, so that you can actually use it reactively in response to incoming projectiles instead of having to wait for the full animation. It's also going to grant you Aegis.
What's a huge nerf for World vs. World, Natty?
More usability against non-projectile skills as well. And also, it will now throw some projectiles at enemies to add a little more damage to the kit, but also a little bit more sustain, because these will all be leeching bolts as they go through the dark field. So potentially just a little bit more lifesteal to really flesh out.
Yeah, the lifesteal hammer revenant looking pretty good now. It's stupid build I made like in 3 seconds the other day.
And moving on, we got some shield and shortbow improvements. Shortbow is basically getting the piercing.
No, the shield's still there.
From the renegade.
The shield's still there. They're buffing all of it. They're just adding that stuff to it.
Kind of held the weapon back a little bit with the introduction of weapon master training, where the piercing aspect is just so important to this weapon, and it's just kind of obviously it's unavailable to non-renegade players. So now we've rolled that in baseline, and it will also give a bit more flexibility in that master tier trait slot of renegade, which we'll get to a little bit later.
Increased missile velocity.
But now it should just be a lot more useful
man.
if you want to play on Herald, play it on Vindicator, or maybe on Core Revan, you want to bust out the shortbow. You will now have that piercing functionality. We've also made a couple of improvements to the shield offhand, especially to make it more of a supporty weapon with the changes to Crystal Hibernation, which is going to now pulse healing AoE. In addition to healing yourself, you will now heal nearby allies. And the Envoy of Exuberance
7-shot now pierces,
where the protection is just going to come out at the end location rather than having
7-shot
through
now pierces.
Your allies to actually give them protection. It'll work pretty, I guess, sensibly with a lot of our other skills in the game.
You know, Lex, at least that's the solace, right? We get to all be disappointed together, and that's the fun part.
That's pretty good. But yeah, just buffing up the supportive aspects of shield offhand.
Indeed. Taylor, if you want to talk about this one.
Yep. This one, Inspiring Reinforcements. We reduced the duration of the stability on this skill a while ago, but we saw that, the interval between the ticks was like a millisecond difference. So there were times where you could get CC'd while you were standing on your roads. So we very slightly bumped up the duration of that stability so that you are now fully covered while you're standing on your roads. As well, we see some slight tweaks to the Retribution trait line.
Wow, you don't even need boon duration anymore, just full perma stab.
That was a trait line that really wasn't used anywhere, so hopefully, get used more. As well, Contain
You
Temper.
Use Profession skill too. Okay, they can do
Fury
it.
was a boon that Revenant did not need more of. It had way too much Fury, so this trait basically did nothing. So now we have changed it to give energy when you stun break. So hopefully,
I like the new guy.
Energy management.
I say that now, and we'll eat the words later, but I like the new guy.
Cool for obviously for everyone, but for Renegade specifically, we know that Profession skill 2 is
clearly his passion is Ranger, but yeah, this is good.
An interesting defensive option should you go Retribution.
All right. If you want to maybe talk about the Herald and Renegade changes here, Cal, and then we can let Taylor take the Vindicator changes.
Well, I could probably just run through all the stuff on this slide and wrap up Revenant.
Okay.
Or we could let Roy do it.
Energy Meld enhances the effects of your next dodge. I kind of like that.
Don't know what you're talking about. But yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
That's pretty cool. For Vindy?
Sure. Oh, go for it. It's all yours, Roy.
I'm just going to keep waiting. All right, so...
Oh, and it no longer has an energy cost.
So
okay, well, fuck me. I don't like that, but I guess that's a trait.
As Kyle mentioned earlier, we're going to be rolling in a lot of the piercing baseline for shortbow, so obviously Heart Piercer is no longer going to be causing shortbow.
This is crazy, dude.
Bold Reversal is going to be reworked, so you're gaining resistance when you gain a healing skill. Help out Revenant, especially in competitive modes. Where
playing Revenant looking pretty good right now. Not going to lie.
Builds a little bit more, as well as just some lockdown issues it might be having, and so that will hopefully help, especially because you do have 2 healing skills on Revenant, as you got 1 from each stance, and so resistance.
You have up to 3 healing skills on Revenant.
Twice from each of the healing skills. A little bit of a bonus damage increase for PvE on Forceful Persistence. as well as for Herald, obviously going to have the specific change there for each upkeep skill. And then we've got, and I'll show this off in game. Taylor, you can probably actually talk about the specific ones, but
it's going to be a lot of resistance on Revenant, honestly.
Middle tier is going to be completely changed to or to impact energy meld. If you want to go into those a little bit, Taylor.
So after Weapon Master training and then Greatsword was no longer a special to Vindicator, we got the feedback that Vindy didn't really have much of an identity as what it wanted to do as an elite spec, and so Energy
neither does Warrior,
previously was a button that really didn't do much. It wasn't that exciting, so we took the opportunity to rework the Master tier to, instead of it all being what flavor of endurance gain you want, to all change Energy Meld in a different way. The top trait, Reverse Curse, is going to increase the effectiveness of your next dodge that's augmented with your Grandmaster, so it will heal more, do more damage, stuff like that.
I mean, there is that option, Lex. It's in the volume
menu. The
menu.
middle tier will now remove the energy cost on Energy Meld and get you energy back.
So I really like
big
this.
energy positive with this trait.
It all affects energy meld, so there's a reason for pushing it.
Remain the support one, where it's going to increase the amount of energy that energy meld or endurance that energy meld.
Yeah, this is good.
As well as sharing that with allies and some vigor. So if you want to dodge more, that's the trait for you.
Very solid.
Love to dodge more.
I love dodging.
I do indeed. It's a great mechanic. All right, that's going to be it for Revenant. But we've got Thief, of course.
Utility skill improvements. Here we go, Kashima. Let's go.
Specifically for some improvements, as well as, again, similar to some other classes we already looked at, some utility skill improvements for some utilities that were not being seen as much as we'd like them to be. Taylor, why don't you start?
Why is Warrior always last?
Yep. So this is taking a lot.
I guess Berserker was first in that one big buff
PvE,
patch they did.
Better. We have some pistol buffs to both power and condition damage. Shadow Strike is getting a bit of a tweak of how it works. Now, when you use Shadow Strike, you're going to get stacks of a buff, and then you can use Repeater however many stacks you get. This will open the
That's so
window
cool.
for the amount of time you have to use Repeater when you use Shadow Strike. So, you know, if you want to use the Shadow Strike and then dodge around before you start using Repeater, you have more time to do that. Bountiful Theft, getting a buff if you steal onto a target with no boons to help out, you know, a lot of
That's
things
so
in PvE don't have
cool.
boons on them to steal. So now you're going to get better value if you take this trait if you steal on something with no boons.
Best class for PvP, whatever you enjoy, Mag.
Getting cooldown reductions because, you know,
genuinely whatever you jive with and fits your playstyle. You can go to meta battle and grab the top build, and if you don't know how to play it or don't enjoy it, it's not going to be
Sounds
fun.
like you're going to be able to press mode a lot.
So try some stuff.
Hey,
it's all free in PvP.
When you hit all the targets.
Some more.
Yeah,
Catalyst is always very strong.
Like crazy. That's wild.
Just keep
press it like 20 times or something. Yeah.
Vindy also is pretty good.
I
love
it.
Willbender's great in World vs. World.
Montages where you just keep pressing unload.
That'd be good. Very.
But yeah, you know, potentially an interesting change.
That's amazing for pistol.
That's
so
staff
cool.
changes here. Cal, if you want to talk about those, we can look at them in game too.
Yeah, we got some
best class for PvP.
Cool,
Just start with Guardian.
Cool reworks.
Guardian's good for everything.
Why not? For staff.
I'd say hot reworks, but sure.
I would suggest Willbender for World vs. World.
Reworks, that's for sure.
Catalyst for PvP and
you know which expansion Daredevil came out?
Vindicator for PvE.
Of course.
And those are good in all the game modes as well.
Staff was the staff spec, you know. It was hot, so hot changes.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
It's clever. It's funny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
That's good. I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, so Thief.
This is
Thief
awesome.
Staff, obviously, we know that, you know, skill 2, skill 5, usually pretty good
Yo,
already,
mobility on staff,
3 and 4
Kashima.
kind of the outlier weak skills on this bar. And we've seen, like, Debilitating Arc, historically, it could be a little bit problematic even in competitive when it was, like, the initiative cost was too low, you could just dodge way too much. So it kind of nerfed, and now it's not super hot anymore. But now it's going to have a flip over skill. So when you Debilitating Arc, you will gain access to Helmet Breaker. And this is going to allow you to re-engage, jump in at your target, and also inflict daze. And the icon is not quite in yet, but there will be a separate.
If you want a good Condi Druid build, you can run it. It just doesn't have
also
the
getting a nice little rework here.
Trapper runes anymore.
It's
on my channel.
From the auto
Still pretty good.
Because having the
especially with these ranger changes.
On auto 3, it was good, but it was still hard to utilize. It was a little unwieldy, a little clunky to make sure you're getting your third hit of the auto chain at the moment that you need projectile hate. So as we're reworking Dust Strike, just moving the projectile destruction or projectile reflection onto that skill, and also giving it a
It always had the knockdown on the
top
ambush skill, I
the
think.
frontal cone. Should just make it a bit more
Like the trip, Kashima,
usable, a bit
Steph
more
always did.
powerful.
Oh,
Maybe
and
jump
Mang,
in
if
with
you want a
Vault
super
and
easy
Dust
one for
Strike,
World vs. World, go
actually
grab the Harbinger
quick
build
little
from my
powerful
Broken
version
Harbinger
of
builds
it.
channel.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
still
also
relevant. You
look
can
like
run it with the starting Selly gear.
Wow, you did
It's
it.
like crazy strong.
That's some insane gameplay.
I'm proud of Roy. He
All right.
dumpstered that golem.
Very cool.
These are really good pistol changes for
Yeah,
Thief.
so
That's
wrapping
awesome.
up the Thief changes, I'll keep talking.
Please do.
Got to get a few consecutive slides in every once in a while. But Impact Strike, this is kind of a big
okay.
change.
I think
We
it's on
are
Helmet
putting an
Breaker.
evade
Yeah,
on
Kashima, the jump back in, the flip skill.
first skill in the chain, which
I
is
could be wrong
Impact
about
Strike,
that.
and then the other
Rewind a
skills will
couple
evade.
seconds.
But this is just trying to make it a bit more of a valuable utility option. It's something that doesn't really get played too much, if at all. And we see that we've kind of tried reducing the cooldown a lot, and it hasn't really quite gotten there. We don't
I'll link it for you,
necessarily
Meg.
want to reduce the cooldown again, so we're giving it a little bit more secondary value with the initial evade on Impact Strike. It potentially makes it a bit more exciting, a bit more interesting. And we did bump up the cooldown a little bit in competitive to kind of hedge against the evade being a little bit too strong. But this is something that we'll be, again, as usual, keeping an eye on it, and we can always bring the cooldown back down in a later patch. And we've also buffed up a couple of Spectre Wells to the supportive wells, especially. Like, we get a bit more healing here on the pulses and lower cooldown on Well of Silence. Maybe makes these a bit more appealing to support Spectre builds in competitive modes.
Hit that up. You can run it with starting
how are
gear.
we seeing support Spectre sort of being played right now? As you mentioned, these are mostly the supportive wells, so be buffing.
But only really for World vs. World. It's kind of nerfed in
that
PvP.
sort of build being played in competitive.
Yeah, I mean,
It's still playable, but it's a pretty solid pick for starting.
Previously, where we kind of made all the important skills on like Scepter and the trait in the Shroud that made the skills kind of splash and made it more of a reliable 5-target healer. And still not quite where we want it to be at, I think, in terms of the support side of things. So we are seeing a couple buffs here. And we're still kind of looking into if there are other avenues that we need to do, like more significant changes for support Spectre, because we do realistically want support Spectre to be a viable build.
Absolutely. You'll love to hear it. All right, Warrior, and I think this might be our final class to be looking at.
Damn it!
As we said earlier, we do.
I knew they were gonna. I knew they were gonna rework arms.
Well.
I'm really sad.
There will be some
Goodbye, arms. The last bastion. Every single time I'm like, they can't make it worse. They can't possibly make it worse.
Updates for the arms trait line, and then we're going to be having some quality of life for the Berserker in PvE.
Rip arms.
So Taylor, why don't you start us off?
Yep, this is going with looking at things that are lesser used, making them better. First one being offhand mace still hasn't caught on, so we're decreasing the cooldowns, increasing stats on it. Please play this weapon.
Signum Stamina is already crazy. Signum Stamina is already like one of the best signets in the game.
Blow. It does a lot of damage.
Can do a lot of damage now.
Yeah.
And a low cooldown. So a pretty interesting pick if you want like that aggressive CC offhand.
Yep.
Very specifically, that is the role that
montage combo some people.
I do say
back in 2012, we played Axe Mace with Greatsword. So
guys, Cal's played this game a lot. If anyone didn't know, just so everyone knows.
This game's been out for a while, in case nobody knew that.
Cal's really old. But please,
that is true.
I'm gonna go be sad in the corner.
I'm sorry about this guy. Just won't stop talking.
Then some defensive signet buffs. Doliak gonna heal more. Stamina gonna give some endurance per condition it cleanses. So potentially gonna give a ton of endurance if you cleanse a lot of conditions with it. And then going on.
And most importantly, we updated the description of Battle Standard.
Battle Standard. Underwater.
I bet they still haven't updated the description of Signet of Stamina to give it a cast time.
And now we have the most important change of the patch.
Thank you, Craig. Oh, it's only in PvE.
You were very excited about this change.
I'm psyched. Oh, but not really. So Vengeance.
But not really.
This is kind of a nod to a change that we'll get to on a later slide, where we did rework the Vengeance trait in Discipline that gave you a 100% chance to rally when you killed something in Vengeance.
This to what anything just got, Lex.
We didn't really want to remove that functionality entirely, because I'm sure there's plenty of players that enjoyed that, especially in like open world gameplay. Rallying off Vengeance, super fun. So let's just make it 100% in PvE, and that's probably really fun. But not in competitive modes. No one played that trait anyway, and probably be a little bit too powerful.
The reality is this entire patch was engineered because Cal kept dying on Warrior in PvE, and so he wanted this change to happen.
Absolutely. That's not true though, because I only play Elementalist in PV. I
Oh,
was gonna say Fire Wizard, but then I decided not to. But then I just did because we're actually live on stream right now.
fire.
Yeah, but only
We
for
are?
PvE, Maddie. I saw that too.
Cal actually
Yeah,
spends
I
his
like
free time
Condi on-
innovating.
I like
Fire
how they're
Wizard
talking about
benchmarks.
Elementalists on the Warrior
I
slide.
just do it on like development branch. I just do like
You're at
think
what,
I'm- I
like
think
what,
I'm getting
39K now?
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, we have some
This is where the stream
changes
falls apart.
to- we made it. We were so close.
We were
made
pretty
it to the
close.
last profession.
You almost didn't say Fire Wizard on stream.
I
now I'm saying
almost
it.
made the right decision, but then I made the right decision.
Cal loves casting spells.
Okay, arms trait line. So this is a trait line that obviously has a few different identities. We have the Condi side and kind of critical hit side, and the critical hit side has never really been that great. So a lot of the changes for this patch are focused around the critical hit side of arms. The big change here is with burst precision. This trait super unexciting as a grandmaster trait before, where it
That's
just
not
makes
true,
all
it's
of your
really
burst
good.
skills guaranteed crit.
It's already
Now,
really
It's
good.
going to do that, but it's also going to make all your skills guaranteed crit for a duration.
Where's
assuming you hit
the
your
dual
burst
wielding?
skill,
Watch
these
them
longbow
leave dual
skills
wielding
also
alone.
is
Watch them do
doing its own
nothing
thing.
to dual wielding now.
But
This is the
as
arms
with
rework,
similar
and
functionalities, you will gain a buff that.
do I have a
100%
Facebook
crit chance
page?
for a
No, I
duration
don't.
Based off adrenaline. Spec.
Sorry.
And that is potentially very, very powerful.
Indeed.
We also see a couple of minor updates with
I
like
have a
bonus
Twitch
critical
and
hit
a
chance against bleeding
YouTube right
enemies
now.
on the minor trait, and also shuffling around a little bit of the fury instead of being on burst skill, putting on a weapon swap, so it's a little bit more on demand.
This is horrible.
And opportunist also going to be trigger on CC instead of just on immobilize to make it again a bit more reliable of fury source. The burst precision change, obviously something we're going to be keeping a very close eye on to, say it for the 10,000th time.
It doesn't matter.
Guaranteed crit chance for
6.5%
long duration is obviously
damage
very
for
good.
4 seconds
This is a
isn't
trait
gonna
line that
matter,
has seen a lot of play,
Cal.
so we are trying to give a pretty powerful incentive if you do want to play in arms, but if it ends up being a bit too powerful, we can obviously tweak the
I
duration.
mean, I'm
tweak the
happy to have
velocity,
this
tweak
because I already
the
run arms on my
everything
builds
this
anyway
trait
because it's
to make
already
it,
good, but like...
maybe a bit more balanced if it is too powerful.
Cool. Couple more warrior changes here.
Yep, I can run
Hey,
through
some
these as
aggressive
well.
onslaught bonuses,
Aggressive
good.
onslaught, this is a trait we reworked a few patches ago now. I
Okay,
think.
giving Warrior the ability
And
to
still not really
provide
picked up. Obviously, the
protection,
strength
that's very
Grandmaster
good.
slot is a very competitive slot with might make
Oh my
strength,
god,
with
Vengeful
power.
Return got reworked.
So just trying to make aggressive onslaught a bit more competitive, adding some might stacks on it, buffing up the movement speed, buffing up the quickness, just tuning up all the knobs, and we'll see if that makes it a interesting pick for maybe some more CC heavy builds. Maybe you play like hammer with straight.
What's height and
strength
focus?
Straight line. You really want to play aggressive onslaught? Who knows?
What's height and focus?
Also, a couple of support warrior improvements here. We see soldier's focus getting heal scaling increase, protection duration increase.
No,
And
shut
Vengeful
up!
Return
Shut up! Shut up!
For the vengeance trait, it is now going to just
Is height and focus the
augment
new
both your
Daring
incoming
Dragon?
and outgoing healing. So a potential option for
Shut
more
the front door!
illusory type warrior builds as well. If you don't want warrior sprint, but also if you just want another healing modifier.
End of Dragons
on your
Mag
support build,
has
you can
Harbinger,
take
and it'll give you the
traits
level,
with
level 80 up
Stalwart
ticket
focus
for the
instead.
Celestial Gear. Is
Yeah,
height
we
and
also have-
focus the new Daring Dragon?
I was going to say we've talked about support warrior in the past on the stream. We've
Team,
mentioned that
did they
we
bring it back?
consider it a little bit more of an aggressive support compared to maybe Guardian or Elementalist in some cases.
That's
Is
what
that
I'm
still kind of
reading,
the
right? It
changes, the
recharges all
direction
burst
that we kind of
skills.
want
That has to
support
apply to
spec to be going, or are we
Dragon
sort of shifting that
Slash
around a
or
little?
Dragon Trigger.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these are both defensive support improvements, but the
What-
identity
what
of warrior support is always
cooldown?
going to slant a little bit more aggressively, and we still want that to be the case. But there is
Oh, so it only
almost like
it only
like a certain
recharges
threshold
once.
of defensive support that is for each to
Interesting.
be a competitive pick. So we think that
I can
bringing up
live
its
with
defensive
that.
potency just a bit is definitely warranted.
I can live with that, I think.
There's also heightened focus here at the bottom, getting a slight little adjustment / improvement. Will now also recharge all of your burst skills when it triggers. And
Dude,
just
I
makes it
can live with this. I can make this
cooldowns, so now you
work.
Potentially, hit a burst skill, hit another burst skill right away, assuming you have the adrenaline, and any number of exciting combos are now possible. Surely, probably not. Who cares? Next slide.
All right. What a way to
That's
transition
way
to
huger than they
Berserk.
just
And,
mentioned.
Take it
Yep.
away.
Yep, so currently Berserker in PvE is pretty balanced around staying in Berserk for the entire fight.
I don't care
in
about
reality,
Burst Mastery,
really
Lex.
It's
Go look up
nice
my
timing.
Daring Dragon Bladesworn
and
video.
Want, falling out of Berserk to be, a stumbling block.
Basically, I spent the first year of End of Dragons making this
so we're trying to make
build that they
Berserk,
just dumpstered when they changed Daring Dragon.
We're rolling Smash Brawler extension baseline.
And it was actually
PvE,
really
as
good.
well as reducing the cooldown of Berserk so you can get back in it faster. And then Smash Brawler itself is going to get a rework where now using a Primal Burst skill will extend the duration of your Berserk, so it will keep going and going.
Interesting.
Hopefully to reduce dependency on rage utility skills, so you can flex those utility skills if you need
Heat
to.
the Soul no longer has an internal cooldown. We did it!
To use because it had that internal cooldown
We did
on
it!
That was really, really hard.
Watch them forget Dragon Trigger and full counter Kashima.
Special cased both decapitate on both Smash Brawler and Heat the Soul, so we'll give less extension and quickness.
They'll probably be up toward the end of the stream, Bill.
But hopefully it'll make Berserker
just keep refreshing, the page, or better yet, go to Reddit and keep refreshing that.
All right, so that is going to wrap up the profession portion of this stream.
Dude, I can...
I've said a few times, we're going to be talking about relics. Right here in another slide, we've got relic balance, and then we will be previewing the upcoming new relics with QR1.
And the biggest thing about the arms thing is they didn't nerf the signet trait. They didn't change the signet trait that's already good. They actually left it alone. That's actually great.
Some relics are good, others are bad. So we're trying to make the bad ones not bad. The ones here, we're just trying simple number changes.
I like the new dude.
Where we're increasing the effectiveness, more conditions cleansed, longer duration on the boons. Nothing too crazy, but then the next slide we'll see that some relics are getting, bigger reworks of their functionality. That's like the cue to go to the next slide.
It is very funny that they did nothing to dual wielding.
Yep. Anyways, Relic of Vast is no longer going to have a cooldown, but it's used by an elixir skill. So if you want to slam all those elixirs on your bar,
they buffed a little bit of it. They changed it a lot, Kashima.
And then Patha is now going to launch.
But they left the signet trait alone.
And from your ending location, as well as the damage buff will now persist for a duration.
It's so funny that they did nothing to dual wielding.
So hopefully it's going to be a lot better for power builds, as well as more consistent when you use it. And Relic of Ice is now going to shoot a lot faster and add more people, as well as doing some vulnerability as well as a chill. So hopefully it's going to be pretty good to get that proc off.
All right, very good. So first up for our new relics coming on November 7th.
Yep. So we have 6 new relics coming. Yep. There are 2 on each of the next 3 slides.
That's insane.
We have fit them all on one slide, but someone, we don't know who.
We got to build the anticipation.
Someone very nefarious snuck in last night to the computer and changed it to 3 slides last night. Very nefarious individual. We don't know who they are.
Right before the stream.
Yes.
Yeah. So Taylor, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, these 2 first ones. Relic of Neos is going to heal you when you remove a condition from yourself. So a lot of relics. There wasn't really a good self-sustain one if you just wanted more sustain in your build. So Relic of Neos is trying to achieve that.
Signet trait isn't, but it's already for 60 seconds, Lex.
Is going to give swiftness and remove movement impairing conditions when you use a healing skill.
The signet trait's already very good. People don't know.
Option.
They're gonna find out.
Pretty cool.
I am pretty sure it is Febe.
We confirmed with the narrative team, I believe.
Good. That was a trick question. Congratulations, you passed.
Yep. Nice. So more mobility, removing immobilize from people around you seems pretty good.
All right.
Yeah, really cool on maybe Revenant, multiple heal skills. Firebrand Mantra, obviously a good option for on heal triggers.
I really like some of these relics.
Moving on, we have Relic of Karakosa.
Nice.
This is going to heal nearby allies when you combo with a blast finisher. It's kind of an interesting trigger. Interesting trigger condition.
Dude, check out the Spellbreaker relic, Kashima.
A little bit more power on, because it's going to be a little bit more contained to certain builds as opposed to on heal trigger, pretty available to everyone. But potentially an interesting healing option for Ellie or some of the other.
Potentially a good healing option for Ellie or
Engineer
Ellie
has a lot of blast finishers. But it will not heal yourself.
Oh
this is an
God.
Important note. We were a little
interesting.
Maybe concerned is a strong word, but we want it to be a support relic more than a self-sustain relic. So there would be basically the option between significantly reducing the healing component for yourself or just removing it entirely. And we felt like the identity of the relic just made a lot more sense if it would heal only your allies. And so that's what it does. Nice. And then we have the Relic of Norris. which is a pretty cool one. It's basically going to give you a stacking buff every once in a while,
Dang.
or when you remove a
Necro
boon
and
from
Spellbreaker relic,
an enemy.
anybody?
Importantly, there is an ICD on the rip component. So if you boon rip, say, 10 boons on one skill, you will only get 1 stack. Once you build up 10 stacks of this buff, it will.
It's important to not make the
enlarge
Spellbreaker heal
We're
good.
trying to channel some of the
Understand?
Norris feeling of like, you know, this wandering creature that consumes everything. So, you know, you consume boons and you eventually build up to this giant monster. It'll make your character model a little bit larger, like we've seen on, say, like, what was it, Signet of the Wild in the past, I believe. Hopefully that's right.
Juggernaut? Or Rampage?
Oh, that's true. Rampage doesn't make you bigger too. So this will enlarge your character and give you increased outgoing damage, reduced incoming damage, and some life stealing, or rather damage conversion to healing. Just
now
like
I gotta
big,
figure out how to
powerful,
work in discipline to
big
my
payoff
build.
at the end of this stacking component, which is
Giving up
really
defense
fun.
is gonna be rough.
All right, and wrapping it up, Taylor, why don't you talk about the last 2 relics on this page?
I think these 2 are pretty cool. Relic of the Midnight King, going to give Might and Fury to nearby allies when you disable an enemy. So in PvE, if your party needs help getting more Might and Fury, you can slap this on. You know, a lot of builds that have trouble getting these boons have an ample amount of CC, so maybe
the last one's kind of cracked.
As well as competitive modes, this gives access to Fury, especially to some builds that may want it. So, you know, pretty good. And then Relic of the Demon Queen is going to increase the healing reduction of poison you apply, and disabling a foe will poison them. So
what would you call
it? I might just call it something like
Bro.
poison.
Whoa.
It's a big word, but you know,
that's a cool name.
Pretty good effect. So hopefully,
I take issue with this last one.
They want to attrition their foes down. You know,
that's not attrition. That's just your opponent can't heal if you're playing fucking Untamed
base 33, at least for
or anything.
A bit more later if needed, but this is a good starting point.
Absolutely.
And kind of another unrelated or semi-related,
enormous
something we haven't talked about on the stream yet, that will be in the blog post, is that we have updated relics to use the skill fact system. So this is something that players will be familiar with. You know, when you hover your skill on the skill bar or your trait, and it pops up the tooltip that has all the information about damage or durations of things or all those things. That tech has been adopted into the relic system, and that will be coming alongside
crazy
the balance
town
update, where you will now just have much clearer information.
Okay, well, Melklick got his witch, and they're actually updating the text and relics. That's really good.
All right. And that will just about do it, actually.
All right, so now we have 30 minutes of wrap up.
Yes.
Okay with
I would say we could aim for like 23 minutes just to like get us off at half past, nice on the dot.
Can't possibly have a good outro. That's not allowed.
No. See, if you trusted me to just do the outro every time, it would be good. But
eventually, you do the outro every time.
As always, and as has been shown throughout the rest of this stream, or the first initial part of the stream, you do not trust me, clearly. Yes, but anyways, as always.
Should we let Taylor do the outro?
And no. And as we just mentioned, the notes will be posted to the forums at the end of the stream in just a few minutes, not actually in half an hour. So make sure you go and you read those. And as we mentioned, there are going to be some notes on there that weren't on the screen that we just showed, specifically the ranger pet portion, as well as a few other things that Cal touched upon.
This is
and
I don't know how to
make
feel.
sure you give us your feedback. We will be looking for it. We'll be looking not just at the forums for feedback. Obviously, we will be looking at various different outlets there for that. But as always,
yeah, pretty much, dude.
Hopefully, you enjoyed the stream.
Taylor will see all
Sigil of Blight and Doom, and just permanently
feedback. Roy will see a lot of the feedback. Taylor will
keep in mind, Blight only triggers at your location, not at their location.
He's the all-seeing eye.
He goes hard on the forums.
He delves deep.
Not just the forums. Some other. I'm always there.
Channels.
I'm always lurking.
Ooh,
you might catch him in a Twitch channel every once in a while.
Maybe
all the time.
What is Twitch?
It's a mystery how he gets any work done.
Well, like, what is YouTube?
Yeah. But Taylor, any final words for your
I like the new dude's
stream, live stream?
Yeah, how would you rate
I like his
this
attitude.
live stream, Taylor?
No, we don't we don't need to hear that.
I want to hear it.
Good. I might rate it like a 10 out of 10, you know. Would stream again.
Okay. That's good. We'd love to hear that.
That's
glad
impressive.
you enjoyed your time. We're not gonna
man, should I do a wrap up for this? I don't even know how to feel.
Cal, any final words?
So many mixed emotions. Like, they did change some warrior stuff, right? But like,
boy.
It just feels so not what we need. You know, we need weapon reworks. We don't need weird arms buffs so that everyone's going to realize how good arms is and then they're just going to nerf it.
To be fair as well, my only job here is to look good, and it is your guys' job to talk good. So,
we were gonna do paper bag helmets.
That would have been good.
Fun introduction to the game recently, but Taylor couldn't find one that fit on his head. So...
Yeah, it's too big.
My brain is just too big.
Giga brain.
Okay, that's good information. If you guys haven't seen it already, there was a studio update blog that went out this week.
It was quite good. Actually, go read that.
Has some cool information in it.
All right, I'm gonna get us out of here. I'm gonna save this end of the stream. Thank you all very much for watching. I will just quickly shout out that next week we are doing the extra live stream. And if for some reason you want to see more of the three of us on stream together, you can. But there's also going to be a lot of other great people to check out, a lot of other great things to check out. Make sure you check out
Thief's getting some really cool pistol stuff, and Warrior's getting some really weird stuff, Maddie. I don't know how to describe it.
Assuming we get enough.
Weapon changes for Thief and trait changes for Warrior.
Which, I will.
Where Warrior needs weapon changes, not trait changes.
But yeah.
I don't think Clay has a wedding to go to this year, though.
I'll find a way.
I'll find a wedding. Just go to
thank
one.
you all for watching. Make sure you go to the forums as well.
Wait, Roy, are we
I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you. I'm actually just going to...
Wow.
No, I won't be. Thank you all for watching. Have a lovely... I'm going to actually
mute them. Watching, can we play reset
lovely rest of your days. Enjoy your weekends. I actually did mute them. And thank you for watching the stream. Until next time, we'll see you in the mists.
That was good. That was good. So, how do you guys feel? I don't even know how to feel about this. Other than, yeah, lol, no arms changes. There it is. All right. Let me throw on my... Damn, I'm not even the first one. Fuck. This is gonna be a short comment. Hang on. Hold, please. I don't know how to feel about this. I'm thinking... Man. This is crazy. We're getting, like, soft Daring Dragon resets back, which is better than nothing. This is a... This is something. There we go. There we go. There we go. I will link this in just a second. Huh. Well, that's odd. Yeah, needs more sauce. I feel like they're cooking Kashima. I don't know, man. Like, whew. Yeah, I'll try Lex, man. See ya. See you, Y. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just, I can't even process what just happened. Arms didn't need the buffs it got. That's my 2 cents. That new relic is crazy. The one that makes poisoned heal, make incoming healing do less. A lot of the PvE changes were really, really good for things like Ellie and stuff. Chaos Aura Mesmer is something I've wanted for a really long time because there's really no way to give out Chaos Aura to other people. That's pretty cool. We'll see if that's too OP. I don't know. I really have no idea. I'm gonna have to go to the drawing board and like sit in the build editor for like 80 years. You guys have any final thoughts? This is we'll see how it is. I mean, go to their forums, leave some feedback. I'll link it right now. Go here, throw some feedback, maybe take a breather, get some water, then do it. Yeah, I got nothing. I gotta go think. This is weird. Yeah, I don't know how I feel either. I'm gonna have to play around with a lot of this stuff, see how it rolls. Kashima, especially the thief pistol stuff, is like, that just seems amazing. I'm super happy with that. Full counter twice in a row seems, well, even just the refresh on full counter, so you just have it, right? So you're not just spamming it. That seems quite strong on Spellbreaker, just because, you know, good Spellbreakers will just have that up twice. You do have to give up the one that gives you adrenaline back, but hopefully that'll be a little bit more competitive. I really have no idea, to be honest. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm going to have to go think. Give my thoughts. Definitely different, definitely interesting. I love, so feedback on the actual stream, right? I love the new guy. I love his passion. I love that he basically reworked all of the ranger pets, or modified them. Like, he clearly knows there's some outdated stuff in the game. We just need like one person on their balance team who gives a crap about like thief, and we need one person on their balance team that gives a crap about warrior, right? Like, that'd be so cool. If they could just have like 9 balance team people and they could all wear like matching shirts, you know, with the icon that they like, that'd be perfect. And that's only slightly an exaggeration, you know, maybe not the shirt thing. Then they can all argue amongst each other and it'll end up balanced, right? This is great. I like the changes. I don't know how I feel about like stuff like Guardian, but the Vindy changes look really good. Guardian Hammer is just better Warrior Hammer at this point, but I'm glad Hammer's usable somewhere in the game. And the AoE Scrapper Barrier thing is absolutely cracked and shouldn't be in the game. There you go. Those are my thoughts. Yeah, we'll see, right? I don't know. I might do a roaming stream tonight, sort of digesting the stream and like talking a little bit more casually about like what this could do for builds and whatnot. Yeah, I'm gonna go hit the gym. Thank you for joining. I am sitting in his studio. I am Pseudo. Do lots of balance streams, lots of like talks on how to play what builds, lots of broken builds, videos and stuff. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Hit me up in the forums. What is interesting, Maddie, is I thought this was going to be shipped in 10 days. It's actually not going to be shipped for another month, which makes way more sense. Yeah, and they didn't preview the weapons. I guess we'll get that preview on the 7th. So yeah, we'll see, right? Huh. I mean, Kashima, they don't know it's cracked because they only seem to be really nerfing stuff that's like really overperforming in game modes, because this was like all buffs, right? Which is kind of insane to think about, like across the board for everything. So yeah, we'll see on the Relic of the Warrior thing. It doesn't really help Bladesworn, but like it helps Berserker a lot, and Spellbreakers. So we'll see. Yeah, go give him some feedback. Hit that link up again. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments if you're catching this VOD. I'll try to edit it down a little bit so it's not just like a little bit of a run up. I know I just started a little bit early, but yeah, this is nuts. I'm just gonna have to go back and scrub through everything. Cool. All right, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future of this game. I just wish they'd rework some of the underused warrior relics, or warrior weapons. I am Pseudo. This is BuildWars2. It's been a lot of fun. Always love doing reaction streams to this. And I will see you guys possibly tonight, 9 Eastern on Twitch and YouTube, 9:30. And I will definitely see you in Tyria. Cheers.